Let me tell you how it was. I don't care who describes that to you, nobody can tell it any worse than what it was. And no one exaggerates that. There is no way for it to be exaggerated. It was that bad.
It was just unbelievable.
This is the picture of America in the 1930s. They called it the Dust Bowl. What you're seeing is not snow. That is dirt flying around everywhere. The topsoil had become um, so overused that the wind would just pick it up. Remember, we have very severe weather in the Great Plains, a very flat area, so there's lots of wind. And if you don't take care of the land, the wind's going to start blowing all the dirt, and then you're going to get dust, and it's going to ruin crops. Question is, how did we get there? What happened to America that led us to the Death Bowl or Dust Bowl? And the answer is the Great Depression, believe it or not. The Great Depression caused prices to go down tremendously. People didn't, either they weren't going to sell their crops anymore, or they had to grow more crops and they had to overuse the land. And this contributed to us creating these black blizzards, these clouds of dust that would just go throughout the entire country and destroy crops and destroy lives, made land almost useless, and people had to sell their land and go somewhere else. And America just continued to spiral out of control as far as economics was concerned. We can see here that unemployment in America skyrocketed from 1920s, where it's almost non-existent, and we're reaching to 25%. Can you imagine 25% of people out of work? Finally, it would go down a little bit, and then it would go back up. And then, as we got closer and closer to World War II, people started going back to work because they needed people to work in the factories creating um, military equipment, and money started to flow again. But America was in real trouble, as was the world. Farmers would burn their own corn cobs to heat their homes because it was worth more to them as fuel than it was to sell them, because prices were so bad. And this started cascading all throughout the world. And as we'll see in our next chapter, when World War II gets going, European countries were devastated after World War I, needed to rebuild. And without American money to invest overseas, these projects, these countries would go unanswered and unhelped, and Europe would spiral out of control as well, dragging pretty much the whole world with it. The U.S. president at the time was Herbert Hoover, who was blamed for all of this that was going on. He believed that America was resilient and that we would pull out of it on our own, and that we didn't need a lot of government help. And he did do some things that only exasperated the problem. He continued to make policies that left people out on the street. He was universally hated, and this would lead to the election of one of the more popular presidents in our history. One more thing that I wanted to mention was that people, because so few people are at work, they become desperate and they will take jobs for less money. Businesses saw this dynamic growing where people were competing to get jobs, and so they can pay people less. And if they didn't like it, then there was, another 25% of the population right behind them wanting that same job. So people were, even if they did have a job, they were making less than they were before.